Hi everybody. So João Ribeiro here, recording from beautiful, sunny Bergen. I'm happy to hear that you had a really great event with Tekna in Digital Norway. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there in person, but I am going to answer some of the questions that I got from you. So I'm going to start with the first one. So the question reads, working with design sprints is fun and engaging. However, it is difficult to create engagement amongst colleagues. Do you have any tips and experience? What is the best way to communicate design sprint to people who are not familiar with the concept? Okay, good question. So there are some different parts here. Okay, so the first part is, yes, it is very fun and it is very engaging. And one of the things that we want to make sure is that we also communicate that not only is it fun and engaging, but it produces actual results. So in the end, you do get a prototype that's been tested with actual users and relevant data if we are in the right direction or not. And the reason why I'm stressing this is that particularly if your colleagues are a bit more skeptical, so for example, in my experience, sometimes software engineers can be a bit skeptical to these methods. It's important to show them and tell them what exactly is going to be the output of a design sprint. We want to avoid this idea that it's just fun and engaging, right? So it is fun and engaging, yes, and actually it will produce an end result that you can see, right? That is tangible. Another way that you can get a bit more engagement from your colleagues is to use some of the tools from the design sprint in a non-design sprint context. So to illustrate this, I'm going to tell you actual things that I've done. So for example, I was having some discussions in a meeting with other software engineers around software architecture, things like that, more technical. And what I tend to do, or what I did in that setting, was to workshopify the meeting. So the meeting was getting a little bit hard, we weren't getting anywhere. So I took some of the exercises from the sprint, namely the note and vote, very simply. And what I did was I invited everyone to just write down how they think the architecture should be in an A4 by themselves in silence, and then share that with each other, putting up on the wall and giving everyone time to actually read through those solutions to those proposals and vote on the ones or the pieces of the architectures that they found more interesting. So, and this tends to work very well, and usually people will ask you, where did this come from, right? And then I usually just tell them, hey, comes from a method called design sprint, which is designed to produce a prototype in just 4 days and evaluate if that prototype and the underlying idea are worth pursuing or not. And people get curious. So this is the best way to get other people engaged in this. Okay, so to the second question. I want to work in design sprints, but my boss does not think it's a great idea. Do you know resources, cases, and examples I can share with my organization to create a better understanding? This is a very good question. So let me start by saying that maybe your boss is actually right. It might not be a good idea. And the reason why I'm saying this is that it's very important to do your first sprint, particularly the first one, in the right timing with the right challenge. So I don't know anything about your particular situation, but if, for example, you're at a stage, maybe it's the end of the quarter, or your boss and your team are all focusing on delivering, and we just want to get stuff out, and we are not at all thinking about new things, then we shouldn't push a design sprint. Then it's a bad idea, right? It's going to backfire. It may feel like completely out of place. We have stuff to do. I mean, we have stuff to actually do. We have work to do. So why are we wasting time with this throwing around post-its and all this kind of stuff? So you want to avoid that. And the best way to avoid that is to be very mindful of timing, right? So the best time to run a sprint is when people are looking for something new. Like you want to revamp something in your product or service, or maybe there's a customer who has challenged you if you're in consultancy and says, hey, we really want to explore new ideas. For example, if it's a bank and says we want to explore what kind of new products we could have for our customers, things like that. It should be ambitious and big enough that it justifies bringing in people in a room to work on it for 4 or 5 days. Another tip that I can give in regards to this, in regards to handling the decision maker, right, is to think about what are their problems, right? So kind of try and understand what they could get from a sprint, what would be the main value for them. So one of the things, of course, is exploring something new. That's number one, right? So if they really have that task, if as a boss they're being evaluated by their ability to innovate, then a sprint should be an easy sale. However, sometimes that's not their main focus. So assuming we have the timing right, that there is an opportunity to do something, if not completely new, at least somewhat new, then we are talking about, for example, prototype. You can focus on the value of the prototype. So instead of focusing on the process towards your boss, you can say, hey, this thing will give us a working simulation, a prototype of how the product would actually look like, and we're going to expose it to actual intended users or clients, and we're going to get data out of it, okay? So there's going to be something tangible. We're not going to be working for 4 or 5 days and then with just post-its on the wall. There's going to be an actual result. Another selling point can be, and these are not mutually exclusive, right? Team alignment. So if you, for example, let's say that you have a lot of new people in the team, or the team has been going through some sort of difficulties and you want to find a way to bring them back together into what a common goal should be. So if your boss has this issue, you can also communicate the value of the sprint in that sense. Is excellent to align teams. So the last part of the question is, what examples can I share to create better understanding? I mean, there's one resource you need and that's it. It's called sprintstories.com. So you just go to sprintstories.com and you find whatever stories are more relevant to your boss. You have stories of all kinds of companies, of all kinds of sizes. So you should try and find the one that you think will be most relevant for your boss to get excited about the sprint. And never forget your own excitement, right? Your own energy and the way you communicate things. And also be a bit patient. You know, sometimes people take their time to incubate things. So, you know, communicate your intentions. Be mindful about it, share the examples, push it just enough, and then let it sink in your boss, let it stay there, and you know, eventually people will when the timing is right, they will come back to you, and you're gonna make this happen. So that's what I had for you today. I'm gonna say goodbye now. From the wonderful media city in Bergen, I'm going to see if I can have a shorter day today and enjoy this wonderful sun, which apparently is gonna be lasting until tomorrow at least. And I wish you all a great day. Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.